This is the Moshpit Backstage podcast for punk, metal and rock interviews and segments.
Greetings all, this is Dani from Cradle of Filth, and you're listening to Moshpit on Thin.
Dani Filth is a vocalist for Cradle of Filth, who released their new album, Toriana, The Seductiveness of Decay, on September 22nd. Dani, thank you so much for joining me.
My pleasure.
Now, for this album, how does the writing work between all you guys? You live in very disparate areas. How do you all come together? How does it all sort of function?
Well, basically, everybody does their own thing. Initially, they come up with ideas and whole tracks, pieces of tracks, isolated parts that they think will work as part of the bigger picture. And then we come together, as we did last year, by convening in a place called Brno, which is in the Czech Republic. That's where Martin and Ashok, the guitarist and the drummer respectively, reside. We spent a week there. Well, it was about a week and a half prior to a festival show. Basically just collating all those ideas, putting them into place, deciding what parts we liked, what we didn't, basically pruning the songs. And we were hoping to come away at the end of that with about 5 tracks. We actually came away with pretty much close to the whole album written, not fully written, obviously. Went through a lot of metamorphoses after that to reach the album that we went into the studio with, and then again it mutated further after that. But yeah, that's initially how we write. Everybody does their homework first. We get together, and don't forget that we play a lot of tours and one-off shows and stuff like that. So it's not impossible, the fact that everybody is scattered across the galaxy.
It seemed to me like there was kind of more of a classical metal guitar riffing on this album than the previous one. Is that because of Ashok and Richard?
Yes, I think so. I think they're both I know they're very competent guitarists. They have one eye to the lineage of Cradle of Filth, our longevity. And they have their favourite songs and epochs of Cradle of Filth. And I guess they don't want to disappoint anybody, and they want to uphold the tradition of Cradle of Filth and what it stands for, and coupled with their, like I say, their talent as well and their drive to write new material. Yeah, I would say it's definitely there's a lot more new wave of British heavy metal about it, and by that I mean, and as most people mean when they say new wave of British heavy metal, it comes down to really 2 bands, Priest and Maiden, and that really boils down to sort of the twin guitar attack, and that's what is prevalent on this record. And that's what's brilliant about having this lineup. Not only do they write guitar, but our bass player Daniel does as well. In fact, he wrote I would say possibly the entirety of the title track, The Seductiveness of Decay, and also I believe he wrote, and I'm trying to remember this now. It's a track on the bonus CD, The Night at Catafalque Manor. So basically, between the 3 of them, we've got quite an arsenal of guitarists.
With the concept, with kind of picking Victorian horror, we kind of have this idea that the Victorians were really prudish. Is that something we exaggerate because we don't really concentrate on history that closely, or is it kind of a contradiction in their society?
I think it was a bit of a contradiction, yeah. There was definitely a veneer of respectability and morality underneath. I think there was as in the case of, let's say, London, a rotten underbelly. And as with any great empire, it's built on blood and rust and the workings, the machinations of the working classes. I think that, outwardly, a lot of respectability, and a fascination as well with spirituality and the macabre, freak shows, asylums. You got to remember this was the age of industrialism, which was literally striding from the banks of squalor. So I think there was a bit of a contradiction. There were two sides for everything. As you say, you got respectability and morality, but I think there was definitely a dark underbelly, and that was basically what I was looking into when writing the album. Their association with the macabre, with things like the Penny Dreadfuls, with characters from the age like and fictional as well, like Dorian Gray and Jack the Ripper and Sweeney Todd and Jekyll and Hyde, and also fascination with things like black clothing and austerity. They had a very morbid fascination. Absolutely fascinated with the whole pursuit of piercing the veil and ghosts and spirits and seances and palmistry and tarot, which is unusual considering, like I say, it was the onset of the age of science and industrialism, and spirituality was considered by many to be a science in itself.
As well as that, like, their fascination with the macabre, do you think it's in any way analogous to the clear fascination that modern society has with the macabre?
Yeah, I do. I mean, it's not that long ago. If you look at it, you're talking, 130 years ago, and all the great works of fiction, all the great works of Gothic horror fiction are still prevalent today. You've gone for Universal Monsters. Well, they're rebooting Universal Monsters as a dark universe.
They're trying.
So, yeah, I do think people have one eye back on the Victorian era. The fashion of the era comes and goes. And I'm not just talking about clothing. I'm talking about jewellery and furniture and ironworks and literature, like I say, is still standing pretty strong after all these years.
Now, in terms of that kind of idea of the concepts, like for you, you've finished the last album, a period of time has elapsed, and there's time to work on the new album. Do you guys start working on the music? Is there themes or concepts or ideas that are in the air about what should kind of drive that? How do those two different parts of Cradle of Filth come together?
Well, essentially, not really until we've got a few songs together. Sometimes I have an idea beforehand and I try and steer people in that direction. But particularly with this album, and because it came so swiftly off the back of touring and the fact that we are now under new management and they want to reboot the band and they want to get us back out under the umbrella of a huge world tour, which we're about to embark on. As I said, everybody just collated ideas, and once we came back from that trip to Brno in the Czech Republic, and we had more than 3, 4, 5 songs laid out, I was able to listen to it, and we were able to deduce a pattern from the songs we liked, etc., etc. And then I built the theme of the album around that.
Now, in terms of the cover art, I think it really captures, obviously, captures the idea you're trying to kind of put forth in terms of the Gothic London horror. Could you talk a little bit about sort of any sort of deeper meaning to it? Because, like, the symbology, I'm never good with that in album artworks. What does it kind of mean to you?
Well, the album title, Cryptoriana, is obviously a play on words. It's a mixture of crypt and Victoriana, which basically hints towards, as I mentioned before, the Victorians' affiliation with the macabre. And the seductiveness of decay further enforces that. It's about mankind's attraction to personifying death as a good or a bad figure, and sometimes about its own self-annihilation. But the album itself, the cover, is just part and parcel of a bigger picture. The whole booklet is tainted by this great overarching theme, which was developed by Arthur Bazintz, who was the same guy that undertook the artwork for our previous album, Hammer of the Witches. He also directed the video for Heartbreak and Seance. We actually went to Riga in Latvia, which is his home city, to film that. The actual cover, it depicts Venus rising from the waves, but it's set against a kind of theatrical backdrop, so you can see that the waves are not real and that they look manufactured, as you would see in a theatre. And as a figure, as this Venus de Milo, she's being sort of assailed by three Victorian graces, who are like the classic Victorian villains, who seem to be seducing her or changing her. It's a concept that we readily gave to Arthur, and basically said, these are the lyrics, this is the title, you develop something that you think is best, that best works with that. And the symbolism, that's up to him. People can read into it as they see fit.
Cryptoriana, The Seductiveness of Decay, is going to be released on September 22nd. Dani, thank you so much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, my pleasure too.
Thanks for listening to the Moshpit Backstage podcast. You can subscribe to us on iTunes and Omni. To find out more about the show, go to www.syn.org.au/moshpit. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/moshpitonsin and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at moshpitsin. The regular Moshpit radio show broadcasts punk, rock and metal tunes and interviews every Thursday nights on SYN 9.7 on FM and digital radios. Listeners outside of Melbourne, Australia can stream SYN 9.7 online at www.syn.org.au. Thanks to Vintage Ruin for the music.
Hi, this is Tomato from Bloodshot Apocalypse.
Hi, I'm Enid from Girls School.
I am Phoebe Pinnock from Heavenly Axe.
Hey, this is Gary Oldmead of the Misfits.
Hey, this is Kat Sproul from Horizon's Edge, and you're listening to the Moshpit on SYN FM.
Hi, this is Einar from Leopard.
Hi, I'm Virginia Lilly from the band Lily.
This is Raul from 1349.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Ali from Zebrahead.
Hey, everybody, this is Charlie Benante with Anthrax, and you are listening to the Moshpit on SYN.